The Western Conference playoff race is always a dogfight, with this year being no exception, as 12 teams are looking to clinch one of 8 spots and earn a playoff berth. And you know what? The Portland Trail Blazers are actually starting to look really competitive recently. Let's make that 13 teams. The Oklahoma City Thunder have emerged as the clear favorites to represent the West in this year's finals, but figuring out who their biggest challengers are is still up in the air. Memphis and Houston have separated from the rest of the pack in the standings, but as lottery teams last season, they haven't been given any benefit of the doubt when it comes to lacking playoff experience as a group. Even a team like Denver that has earned that grace still has their flaws that have held many back from showing full-fledged confidence in their contention chances. Teams like the Lakers, Suns, or Warriors, who had plenty of hype coming into the season, now find themselves staring at the trade machine looking for ways to improve their rosters. Despite the perennial talk about how much more superior the Western Conference is in comparison to its Eastern counterpart, no one has yet emerged as a prime candidate to face off against OKC in the conference finals. However, what I see as I look out across the landscape of the Wild West is a sleeping giant, a team that, with the way it looks like the standings could ultimately shake out at the end of the season, has a serious chance at being one of the final 4 teams still playing basketball deep into the month of May. The Los Angeles Clippers, despite their obvious potential downfalls, have as good of a chance at taking down the league-leading Thunder as any other team in the Western Conference this season. They've been a sleeping giant all year, and I think that even as the playoffs start, fans and analysts alike will be overlooking them as a legit threat to make a deep postseason run. As the 6th seed in the West, they'd be matched up with either the Grizzlies or Rockets in a first-round series. And while both of those teams have objectively looked better than the Clippers so far during the regular season, I wouldn't take either young group as the favorites in a 7-game series over the battle-tested Clippers. But before we start to dig any further into any basketball analysis, I of course have to mention that this entire argument I'm about to make falls apart with any significant amount of time missed from Kawhi Leonard moving forward. I won't pretend as though his odds of staying healthy playing basketball for 3 straight months are high, but allow me to make my case nonetheless. It has happened before, and it can certainly happen again. When he is on the basketball court, Kawhi Leonard is one of the great playoff risers of his generation. Of course, we all remember the 2019 playoff run he went on, demolishing everyone in his path and cementing himself as the best player in the world at that time. That was the peak of his powers, everything coming together just right, best case scenario for him. But it wasn't a fluke. Think back to those back-to-back years of matchups with Luka Doncic and the Mavericks. Those were some of the most incredible superstar versus superstar games we've ever seen, and it established Luka Doncic as a premier star in the NBA. Yet, guess who actually won that matchup, both times? The guy who averaged 30 points a game on 57% shooting, while simultaneously taking on the Luka assignment. We also shouldn't forget that he rightfully earned a Finals MVP while playing alongside one of the 5 greatest players of all time, as well as 2 other Hall of Famers. Kawhi was even clutch as a relative unknown in March Madness, leading San Diego State to back-to-back tournament appearances and a spot in the Sweet 16. Throughout his career, this is someone that has shown the consistent ability to raise their level of play when the game demands it most. I have no quibbles with the Clippers for letting Kawhi take his sweet time to ramp up to full strength. They've played fairly well without him, yet they only have a shot to compete at the highest level with him at his best. As far as the supporting cast goes, it may not look like a championship squad on paper, especially after their co-star and Paul George left for nothing in free agency this summer. Yet, we've seen how that's turned out already for Philadelphia, and in his absence, the Clippers have found a multitude of guys to fill PG's roles in the aggregate, and in fact may have fulfilled the prophecy laid out by none other than Norm Powell himself before the start of the season.
I saw it as addition by subtraction. Like I said, more guys get more opportunity, not only myself. But I was excited. I think what I've said in this media day every single year since being here is that I want to be a starting 2 guard.
Now look, as much as I'm trying to sell you on the idea of the Clippers having a shot at the Western Conference Finals right now, I was not a believer in this team coming into the year. In fact, I laughed out loud for probably an entire minute when I first heard that quote from Powell. Yeah, okay, Norm Powell. I'm sure now that one of the best complementary players in the league is gone, you're going to magically go from a career 13 points per game scorer and elevate into a 24 points per game player just by having a little more opportunity, is what I was saying. I don't know if it was magic or not, but the way he's been playing all season long has me sold on the idea of having him be the secondary scoring option to play off of Kawhi. His emergence into what I would consider to be a runaway favorite for most improved player this season also lessens the burden on James Harden to be a go-to scoring option in big moments of a game. Now, I've been as big of a Harden doubter as you'll find throughout his career, and the playoff resume speaks for itself. But one thing I have never doubted about Harden since he emerged as a star back in Houston is his ability to facilitate. If nothing else, Harden is one of the great shot creators of his generation. and with 2 reliable scoring threats to dish to, he can slide in comfortably into his point guard role and just take what defenses give him, rather than finding himself unable to carry the load as the team's leader. And I know you might be asking yourself, isn't this exactly what everyone said when he got to Philly? Isn't this exactly what everyone said when he got to LA to begin with? Yes, everyone did say that. So what's different this go round? Well, rather than being teamed up with another ball-dominant guard and a big man with arguably an even worse playoff resume than Harden himself, this Clippers squad is built for James Harden in a way that is only comparable to some of those Rockets teams in his prime that went toe-to-toe with the Warriors. Kawhi and Norm Powell are 2 scorers who aren't looking to dribble the air out of the ball before getting into their shots. They've both always been players that have benefited from a strong point guard presence next to them, and Harden seems to have built a strong connection with both players on the court. Not to mention, one of my favorite players in the league, Ivica Zubac, is having a career year as Harden's pick and roll partner, something that's about as surprising as seeing the Wizards lose a game. And let's not forget about some of their standout supporting cast members as well. Derrick Jones Jr. is having another fantastic season after helping lead Dallas to the finals last year. Yes, help lead them, because he was by far their most valuable perimeter defender for the entirety of those playoffs. Now in LA, the dunk contest legend is again playing big minutes for a team that has a shot to make the finals. In the backcourt behind Harden, the Clippers boast one of the best pairings in the league that your casual NBA fan friend has never heard of. Chris Dunn and Amir Coffey are those quintessential fill-in-the-gaps guards every team is looking to fill their bench with, and these guys have even proven capable in spot starter roles this season. Rounding out the rotation, this Clipper squad will be looking for some semblance of an 8th man between Nick Batum, Terrence Mann, Kevin Porter Jr., Mo Bamba, or maybe even a guy like Jordan Miller. Or Steve Ballmer can utilize what has developed into one of the best kept secrets in the NBA to go out and find one more player to add to this roster. No worries if you forgot he even existed, but PJ Tucker and his $11.5 million salary have been quietly sitting at home all season, burning a hole in Ballmer's pocket when it could be used alongside a tradable first-round pick to add one more guy that might just push this team over the top. There aren't a lot of sellers in the market right now, but this front office can absolutely find a way to get creative and add talent without having to give up anything in the immediate term. The Clippers have already been playing good basketball all season, are on an upward trajectory now with Kawhi back and ramping up closer to full strength, and have the potential to get even better with a move before the deadline next week. If you're still worried about this team's postseason chances because you don't trust that Kawhi will stay healthy, or you don't believe in Harden's ability to perform well in multiple playoff series in a row, or you think the Clippers are just a cursed franchise, I get it. It can be hard to foresee this group after being projected by so many to not even make the playoffs this season, ending up in the conference finals. If they do though, just remember who was the first person to mention it as a real possibility. Thanks for watching.